Good morning. Key to coaching for realtors at 10 a.m. every Wednesday. Appreciate you coming on and hearing about what we're doing. Definitely proud. We've made a lot of progress in the last 12 months, and there's quite a bit of momentum grown up from what we've been doing. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick, and I'm here to disclose that this is not a certification. This is not an orientation. This is specific to production and what you can do as actionable items to take your real estate career and put it on steroids. Get into affinity relationships with some of the most loyal, productive relationships with good credit, good intentions, good loyalty. I'm telling you, this is a great way to grow your production. Now, I was just on with a realtor who we were given some additional guidance to. And I wanted to make clear about this. You know, Randy's calendar and my calendar should be online at the Hero Benefits Network.org. So you should be able to find Randy's calendar or Russ's calendar. You can get on our calendar and we can provide live in person support 5 days a week. But, you know, we're encouraging people to come to Kita to get the basics, of the selling strategy. If you guys are going to be our sales force in the real estate community, we need to teach you, train you, and coach you how to represent our network, right? So I'm going to do these 3 silos because I was just on the phone with someone and you could tell I didn't even finish the slides, right? I didn't even get a chance to finish the slide before I went live at 10 a.m. this Wednesday. But, one of the things that made sales management so much more effective, and I've managed 1,300 realtors at the largest brokerage in Southeast Florida for almost a decade and a half. And what's the reality? I hope my camera's not on right now. I don't think it is. Somebody tell me if it is. But I managed a bunch of realtors and I've helped a lot of realtors become more productive over the last 30 years. And one of the most effective things we can do is to chop the sales process into chunks. If we could sell the salesperson, if we could sell you as the realtor on 4 separate accountability silos, then you could start to hold yourself accountable to one silo at a time. And I reference the millipede, I reference the millipede as 1,000-foot, a centipede or a millipede. They've got all these feet. And if they didn't have a system for how to make each of those separate feet work independent of each other, they wouldn't be able to gracefully move through nature because someone had to instinctively know how to use all those different feet, right? Well, that's the same with you guys at the Hero Benefits Network. You hear the word Police Benevolent Association, or you hear the word Firefighters Union, or you hear about the Teachers Union, or you hear about the Veterans of Foreign War. And it all just seems so overwhelming maybe to someone who's new to this. But if we could just break this down into 4 silos. The first silo is, are you doing any notes? Are you doing any emails? Are you doing any DMs? Are you doing any calls? Now, the person I was on with is not necessarily a cold call cowboy, right? He or she doesn't think of herself or himself as a person who's just going to pick up the phone and call 20 leaders a week. That's not up her alley. Well, is she willing to slide into 20 DMs a week? Is she willing to send out 20 emails a week? Is she willing to send out handwritten notes with a stamp on them, with blue ink on the outside of the note? That promotional silo is fairly finite in your responsibilities. And there's no one online today or who will ever be a member of Hero Benefits Network that could claim that they don't understand it. We give you the copies of the notes. We tell you exactly what the emails have to say. We tell you exactly what the DMs need to say. And we tell you what you would say if you do have the cojones to call somebody on the phone. But When you switch out of your promotional silo, the very next silo that you move to is your elevator pitch. When they call you back, what are the 3 succinct sentences that you say in 30 seconds or less that can help you stand out from a sea of sameness? Hey, Jeff, I am so happy to finally meet you. You probably get sick of me. I sent you a DM. I sent you a voicemail. I've reached out to you via email, and I'm so happy that you finally responded to that note that I sent you, because we are a nonprofit helping first responders with homeownership. And we have down payment assistance programs. We have rebates and incentives. We also have relocation grants up to $10,000 to help your nurse, your teacher, your firefighter, your police officer buy a home in or near the community that they serve. We're aware of the homeownership affordability crisis. We're aware that the teachers and firefighters and law enforcement officers are having a harder time with homeownership. So we've allocated some funds for help with homeownership. And the reason I've been reaching out to you so diligently is because if we build a relationship, Jeff, it's going to be a relationship that lasts for decades, not months. This is something that we're going to be doing with and for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department into 2035. Okay, this is an opportunity for us to do something special. And what we're referring to is an affinity relationship. And I want to just describe what an affinity relationship is in layperson's terms. Have you ever heard the term special things for special people? Like, this is my bakery. I sell cakes for $25, but for cops, I sell cakes for $20, right? It's just special things for special people. That's officially what an affinity relationship does. So an example would be, I know of a major mortgage bank that has an affinity relationship with Costco. So they say, if you're a member at Costco, you get special things for special people. Then maybe they knock a quarter point off their traditional lender fees or something, or maybe they give back $1,000 after closing or something like that. But affinity relationships are nothing more than being able to say that we provide special things, special rebates, special incentives, special down payment assistance, or relocation grants from our nonprofit to help you buy a home or sell a home. That is not very confusing. Okay, that is not something that we got to get worked up and all tongue-tied about. This is just a quick elevator pitch that says, I'm so happy to finally meet you. I've been diligent in reaching out because I'm the benefits director for Broward County. I'm one of the benefits directors for Broward County, Florida, and I needed to reach you to tell you that all of your sworn law enforcement officers and all of your civilian employees qualify as essential workers. They qualify for this nonprofit grant to help them buy or sell a home. So what's the third silo there in green all about? Well, you may become proficient at the presentation eventually, but during the next 30 to 60 days, we're inviting you to call on Randy or Russ. Either of us will make that 15-minute consultation to the director. So it goes like this. You send out a note. The leader calls you back. You pitch it, brief pitch, nothing detailed, no granular. Don't tell him how the money works. Don't tell him how the money flows. Don't tell him that you're with Remax. Don't tell him you're with Century 21. Just keep it light. Stay in your silo. Just an elevator pitch. That's all you're doing. And then if he asks any questions, say, well, the best thing for me to do is to book you a 15-minute consultation with our chief connection officer, or we can book you with our founder, Russ Fitzpatrick. So if I could get you 15 minutes sometime early next week, we could do an online consultation or even a telephone call. For God's sakes, it's so simple. No cop has ever said no to this. I've never had a firefighter go, no, this is not my cup of tea. I don't want money. Nobody's ever said that. You guys are just making it more confusing than it has to be. But if you go promotion, you go elevator pitch, then you go book 15-minute consultation, now you're cooking with gas, because now the reason it's called an accountability silo is it's I'm sorry, it's just like you either do it or you don't do it. There's nothing more to talk about. How many notes did you send out? How many emails did you send out? How many DMs did you send out? How many calls did you make? How many elevator pitches did you make? Then how many consultations did you book? This is the secret sauce of productive salespeople everywhere in the world, that they hold themselves accountable to how many by when. So my new friend Lisa Penny and I were on the phone this morning from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I grew up, where I sold real estate for 40 years. And I said to her, promotional campaign separate from elevator pitches. Elevator pitches separate from booking consultations. Once you book a consultation, then we close them for a strategic alliance agreement. And the company leader at the Police Benevolent Association, or at the Fraternal Order of Police, or at the American Legion, or at the Veterans of Foreign War, they actually sign a formal strategic alliance agreement with the Hero Benefits Network. And you become the exclusive representative of that. Now, if that sucks, get out of here. You're brain dead. That's the most effective thing I've ever created in my life. And I've been doing this for 40 years. So as long as you're the agent that met the PBA first, then you're the agent that's listed on the strategic alliance agreement. How can that suck? How could that be hard to do? You don't even have to make the presentation. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go above and beyond right now. If you're ever stuck in the elevator pitch silo and you don't know what to do, but the cop already called you back, the firefighter called you back, the president of the PBA called you back, and you don't know what the freak to say, just text me, 954-695-2314. Say, the chief of police at the Hollywood Memorial Hospital. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like, the chief of police called me, the firefighter called me, the teacher called me. Just text me. I'll call them just for fun, just to teach you how freaking easy it is. But book a 15-minute consultation with Randy or Russ, and then they sign a strategic alliance agreement that protects your interests in the relationship for the next, 15, 20 years. I don't know. That's not a bad game. I'm off on a little tangent today, but I'm going to go ahead and dig into what we're proud of. We've funded about $26 billion in mortgages through our realtor referral partners over the last 15 years. We've recruited MLOs, we've trained MLOs, we've retained, kept them at our company, and we've managed them. And why we're so proud of that is all of that business came through realtors. We are a realtor referral mechanism that benefits mortgage bankers and title companies. The realtors are the tip of the spear. They're the constituency of our organization that brings in all the frontline business. Then the mortgage bankers give a lender credit, and the title companies give a small credit as well. And that's how we fund our nonprofit down payment assistance programs. But in addition to the buy side down payment assistance programs that we provide you, we also give you some listing magnets called relocation grants. These, imagine you're walking on the beach with a metal detector. What the relocation grant does is it goes beep, 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 beep. This guy wants to sell. That's what it does. It identifies people who want to sell. They reach out to you and say, tell me how that relocation grant works. And having a unique selling proposition like a relocation grant is almost like casting a lure over a big pond and having the biggest fish in the pond, the seller, swim all the way up and bite your lure. It's a relocation grant. It's a listing magnet. Well, you start to say to people, if I could provide you about $10,000, up to $10,000 to help with your upcoming move, would you at least want to sit down with me here at the Hero Benefits Network? If I could help you with moving expenses, closing costs, help you with, down payment assistance on your next home, or just help you pay your closing costs. If I could give you 0.011 on the one you're buying and 0.075 on the one you're selling, would you at least want to see how that works? How we could amass $8,800 in relocation grants for you through our nonprofit. If I could help you reduce your expenses in this upcoming move, would you at least want to talk to our Hero Benefits Network? So we're giving you the resources and strategies that it takes to stand out from the sea of sameness and to win these strategic alliance partnerships. So how can I help you take more listings? Finding genuine seller prospects. And Mike Ferry defined a seller prospect in 1980 for me. He said, you don't want to find people who want to sell. You want to find people that have to sell. So when you retire and you got your pension and your grandkids live in Tennessee, you're moving to Tennessee, right? And teachers who are in the drop program, they move more often than teachers who are not in the drop program. Principals and administrators will promote you to their members, right? The chief nursing officer will promote you to other nurses. So think of it as a pebble in the pond. And you've got to keep throwing a pebble in the pond every couple of weeks to keep that ripple effect moving throughout that community. It's just like geographic farming. In a geographic farming situation, you'd give once every 2 weeks, you'd make a touch. Well, in affinity marketing, once every 2 weeks, you should make a touch somehow or another. Well, when you talk about objection handling techniques, there's a science to objection handling techniques, right? Not everybody intuitively knows how to answer the question, how much is your commission? How much does this affect my commission? How much commission do I have to pay? What's your commission? See, that question comes up with 99.9% of sellers. So what our assumption is that you'd be better off understanding how to answer that question effectively. And I'm going to test you with something. This is a true or false question. Do you believe that there's a quantifiable best way to answer that question? Do you believe that loser real estate agents answer it one way and winner real estate agents answer it another way? The answer is yes. Happy to tell you from 40 years of watching realtors screw up the listings. How much is your commission? Well, we typically I've watched that for 40 years. How much is your commission is probably the easiest objection handling technique, softball, underhand pitch you could ever be thrown. And I say, well, that's why I work for this particular brokerage, sir. I'm so glad you asked me that question. I have commission structures anywhere from 1% all the way up to the big ugly number 6%. But the nice thing about our brokerage is you're going to pick the commission structure that's right for you. I'd love to come over and show you a couple of different scenarios that you could choose from. But I've sold a lot of homes for 1% and 2%, and I've sold a lot of homes for 6%. But you're going to kind of pick where that sits for you. In addition, no matter what commission agreement you make for selling your home, whether it's do it yourself, for sale by owner, or if it's, a full service relocation package with a 6% commission, you're going to pick where you fit in that. And what I'm able to do for you is to still provide you a relocation grant to help offset commission expenses, closing costs, and or moving expenses. Would you be interested in me coming over to take a look at the house? Well, how much is my house worth? Well, I don't know that yet because I haven't seen your home. And a lot of the value in your home is going to be in the condition and location of your home. So if I were to spit out a figure like Zillow, spit out some number like Zestimate, the inaccuracy of a Zestimate is anywhere from 15 to 30%. So you've got this wide range that Zestimate is going to give you, right? But that's not a figure that you could sell for. We need to see the condition of the carpet, the bathrooms, the kitchen. We need to understand the roof, the age of the roof, the air conditioning systems. You know, if a realtor ever gave you a price over the phone, just run. That is not a professional realtor, right? I can give you a range. I can tell you that Grand Isle is selling between 650 and 950, but I can't tell you exactly where your model, your home, and your location on that cul-de-sac fits into that pricing metrics until I've seen the house and understood the condition of it. So I'm giving you these longer caricature objection handling techniques to show you that there's about 12 questions that come up on every single listing. And the best way to answer those questions is with solid objection handling techniques. All right, it's already 10:22 on today's key to coaching because I went off on a couple of tangents that Lisa provoked. But what I wanted to talk to you about for a little while today is how you're identifying as a real estate professional in your local market. See, I didn't lack ambition. So I was identifying as an elite residential realtor early. Even when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I had so many good mentors in the residential real estate business. I knew how to show up, wear a damn tie. That was what I was taught. Speak professionally. Don't use the word or in between every sentence. Make sure that you articulate the message to the customer in a way that makes you seem professional, right? So if you think I look like Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties there, that's because at 16, 17, and 18 years old, I read Napoleon Hill's Thinking We Grow Rich. I read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read a book called The Art of the Deal by our current acting president, Donald Trump. I've been studying residential real estate professionalism since I was 16 years old, and I'm now 56. So that's a good, 40 years of working in residential real estate. Got licensed when I was 18. The first day that they let me get licensed in Florida, I was licensed. I mean, it was within 2 weeks of my 18th birthday that I held my real estate license. By 2006, we were the top residential real estate brokerage in Southeast Florida. We were doing more transactions than the largest Prudential office, the largest Keller Williams office, the largest RE/MAX office. We were the number one residential real estate brokerage in Southeast Florida for a number of years. And we were the number one listing agency. We were the number one buy-side agency. We were the number one closing company. And I'd like to tell you that a lot of it started with this letter that we teach you guys how to send out these either handwritten notes or to send out these direct mail letters. And they put Carrie and I at the Savoy in London having tea with our daughters. This letter put us at the Eiffel Tower in a Rolls-Royce limousine going to see the Eiffel Tower with my daughters and a bottle of champagne. This letter put my kids into St. Thomas Aquinas High School in North Broward Prep, private school, right? This letter changed where I bought a vacation home. I'm telling you guys, this letter is the miracle letter because it produces listings at a higher rate of speed than any other letter I've ever used. And it's working today for about 1,500 realtors across the country that I work with. But we wanted to take your identity and augment it, add value to it. How do you become an REO listing agent? How do you become a real estate staging expert? Does the idea of you standing out from the sea of sameness as a pet-friendly real estate agent interest you? Do you have a bulletproof listing presentation that has its own silos of accountability for you to follow? Do you storyboard out how your listing presentation is going to go? Do you work in farming at all? So how you identify as a realtor is becoming more and more important to us, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. What we've learned about the residential real estate professional is there's a bunch of people who aren't really in the real estate business, but they're licensed. And then there's a whole bunch of people that are in the real estate business and they're licensed and they do things a little differently, right? So they identify differently. So you might think it's like, do you identify as a realtor or not? No. That's a simple macro definition. Yes, I am a licensed realtor. Yes, I am a female or I'm a male. But what if you're a female? Generally, yes, you identify as female. But what about, do you identify as a girl? Do you identify as a lady? Or do you identify as a woman? That's 3 submodalities of your general identification as a female. So you identify as a female and you identify as a mother. Do you identify as a sister, a grandmother? So all the nuance of how you identify. Do you identify as a woman of faith? Are you a positive girl? Or are you a negative person? Are you a caring person? Are you a nurturing person? Do you identify as a single woman? Do you identify as a married woman? Maybe you identify as a widow. So I can assure you that once you identify as a widow, you show up in a certain way, right? It's just a way of being a woman. You're a widowed woman, right? Or you're a married woman, or you're a single girl. So these submodalities of your identification are important in your personal life, but what about in real estate? Oh my gosh, there are so many ways that you can sub-identify as a realtor that if you did, your shoulders would go back, your chest would go out, you would have this turgid sense of urgency coursing through your body if you identified as a certain type of realtor. We're going to tell you that the word mindset didn't resonate with me through my 20s, 30s, or 40s. But in my 50s, I've started to really understand how Lisa's mindset dictates what Lisa's going to do. If Bob Smith, the realtor at Caldwell Banker, identifies as a shy, timid follower who's an employee, not an employer, it doesn't matter what he does. He identifies as a follower. He's shy. He's not much of a leader. He doesn't have much of an employer mentality. He's not an entrepreneur. What about how you sound when you talk? Are you loud? Do you have a temper? Are you abrasive? Are you fluid, classy, elegant? These are all sub identifiers of one major thing. So you identify as a female, but what kind of a female are you? That's what I want to talk about in real estate for just a few minutes with you. And then we'll start to wrap up this session of Key to Coaching. But what you do, how you do it, when you do it, and how many times you do it is important. That's when we talk about those accountability silos, like how many by when, right? So how many notes did you send out? How many emails did you send out? How many DMs did you send out? How many calls did you make? That's the what you're doing. But who you are and why you're doing it and the mindset behind your own self-image is going to dictate how successful you are, way more than how many by when. So I could take Bob, the realtor we were just hypothetically reviewing. Hypothesizing, Carrie screams out from another room. That was funny. Bob was shy. He was timid. He was a follower, not a leader, and he was not an entrepreneur. Well, it doesn't matter how many damn letters Bob sends out. If he doesn't see himself as a leader, he doesn't see himself as a teacher, and he doesn't see himself as a caring, nurturing, concerned citizen, he's not going to be successful when those cops call him back. So we need to work on who you are, not just what you're doing. And I'm prepared to do that with you if you're willing to get vulnerable and talk about some of these things with us. Are you a listing agent or a buyer's agent? When you go into the MLS and you look at all your closed sales for the last 3 years, did you do more listings or did you do more buyers? Are you a clerk who fulfills orders for people? Hey, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage. Here's all the 3-bedroom houses with 2-car garages. That's a clerk. A consultant can say, I know you told me to look primarily in Hickory, but I went outside of Hickory and I did some searching in the suburbs. And I'll tell you what, there's a couple of 4 and 5-bedroom houses that I think you should look at. They're only 15 to 20 minutes outside of town, but they have a different size and scope because you're a consultant. You're not a clerk. Are you a guru? Do you know more about the real estate business than your constituency does? Or are you a gopher where they're telling you what to do? I want you to go get me the, I want you to drive me around, show me 6 or 7 houses. That's what a gopher does. That's what an order taker does. That's what an escort does. But a presenter, a teacher, and a guru and a consultant, they do different things, right? So if you resonate with this a little bit, like if you're seeing this for the first time, you're like, well, I know I need to be more on the left side of the continuum than the right side, but I don't know how to do that. That's when you use the Works Partner Program and the Hero Benefits Network program to bolster your guru status. We're going to bring out the guru in you to be able to be the expert consultant, presenter, and advisor. Are you a shark or are you a catfish? Sharks go hunting. Catfish sit on the bottom and wait for scraps to fall to them, right? So if you identify as a hunter, then you hold yourself accountable sending out 20 notes a week. If you identify as a hunter, you hold yourself accountable to sending out 20 DMs a week. If you identify as a hunter, you're going to send out voicemails or texts or emails, right? You're proactively hunting for sellers and buyers. But if you're a catfish is a relative of a shark, but it ain't no shark. Just look at those gums. I mean, they ain't going to hurt nobody. It's just a catfish, right? I heard they got spikes on the back of them that can hurt you if you pick them up, but they definitely don't have any real teeth to hurt you with. In fact, I've seen those people in the Louisiana bayou sticking their arm down in a hole and getting the catfish to bite their arm almost just to even pick them up. So it's just a funny comparison between a shark and a catfish. It's kind of like a top producing realtor versus a average realtor, right? Average realtors wait around for things to come to them, and top producing realtors go out and hunt and get it. Are you a person who feels entitled, or are you a person who feels grateful? I get to help a family. I got to show a house, right? It's 2 different ways of looking at the same opportunity. Hey, I get to go out and help a family buy a house. Hey, I got to go show a house to this buyer, right? So when you think about things like grateful or entitled, I want you to tell you the 2-letter word that amplifies expertise in my mind. If I talk to somebody and they consistently say the word we, then I know they're bright. But if they consistently say the word I know they're mentally challenged. So, especially in residential real estate, the we is my brokerage. The we is my brand. The we is my partnership with a mortgage company. The we is my partnership with a title company. The we is the real estate attorney that I refer business to. The we is my concierge cabinet of all the people that can help me do roofing or plumbing or electricity in the cabinet of service providers that I've built up over the years. The legal counsel, the mortgage professionals, the title companies that represent we as a business, our team, who we are as a team. You'll never hear a $1 million a year realtor say the word I. They never say I. They always say we, my team. When you talk to my processor, when you talk to my transaction coordinator, when you talk to my mortgage professional, when you talk to my title company, they're all we, because they're not realtors at all. They're business people that happen to be in real estate. They're not sitting there all burnt out and jaded. Sellers are liars and buyers are worse, or whatever the stupid shit they say. Oh, buyers are liars and sellers are worse. And, every client's bad. It's not me. It must be the clients. They're all burnt out and jaded because they're out showing property all the time. Well, what if you were optimistic, positive and optimistic business person using a grateful we scenario to get more listing appointments? In fact, I would challenge you today on Kita to say this. I go on one listing appointment a week. I go on one listing appointment a week. I go on 50 listing appointments a year. Start to affirm that in your heart and mind, in your body and your soul. I got to go on one listing appointment a week if I'm going to be a successful realtor. I've got to go on one listing appointment a week if I'm going to be a successful realtor. If you would do that internal dialogue, if you identify as a listing agent, you've got to be going on one listing appointment a week. How do you identify? Are you green and growing, or are you ripe and rotting? When you're green and growing, you're learning, you're exploring, you're open-minded, you're in that adaptive kind of a resource learning environment. But when you're old and you're closed-minded and you have no sense of optimism left, that there's nothing new to learn, and you've already got it all figured out, even though you're only selling 6 homes a year. You're telling us you got it all figured out, but you're only selling 6 or 8 houses a year. And then the guys that do have it figured out are selling 40 houses a year, but you're only selling 6. Well, do you think there might be some green and growing left in you? Or do you think you're just ripe and rotting? Are you reading and learning still today? I'm 58 years old. I don't need to read and learn nothing. I already learned it all and read it all. Well, you're graduated already and you're closed-minded like Archie Bunker. You got 2 fingers in your ears, Or are you reading things like Joyce Meyer's The Mind Connection or The Battlefield of the Mind? Are you reading Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life? Are you going back to some of the classics or reading Think and Grow Rich or Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People? And I wish you could see my nightstand right now because it's filled with Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Eckhart Tolle, all the books that I need to be reading to keep myself green and growing and reading and learning. So I'm going to go through 6 categories of realtors, and I'm not going to have you tell me who you are, but I want you to decide which category most represents you. Dependent realtors work for teams or buy leads from Zillow and Realtor.com. So a dependent realtor is usually someone who's on a 50-50 split or worse, and they're able to get their deals from a better realtor than them. Like, I'm not a good realtor, so I'm just going to get my deals from a good realtor. Then they give up 50% of their commission because they're dependent upon another realtor, or they're dependent upon Zillow or Realtor.com to bring their deals in. So if you're a dependent realtor, we can accept that, but we'd like to help you move towards independent. If you identify as a dependent realtor, it's our job to help you become more independent, right? What about a secret agent? Have you ever heard of a real estate agent that nobody believes is a realtor? Grandma doesn't use them when she lists her house. Aunt Sally doesn't list with them. The new first-time home buyer doesn't even call them because they don't even know they're a realtor. No one believes you're a realtor yet. So you went through your license. You probably don't own your own signs. You probably don't have a bus bench anywhere in town. You probably don't even have a website about real estate. If you look on your Facebook, you got bikini pictures from Saturday and martini pictures from Friday, but you got no real estate on the website. You got no real estate information on your social media. You don't do any direct mail, email marketing, text marketing, nothing. Nobody knows you're a realtor. No one believes you're a realtor. So if you identify as a secret agent, our job with you is to help you get the secret out. The secret that you're a real estate agent. Start telling people about it. This is my least favorite group. wandering, complacent realtors. If you identify as a wandering realtor, it means that some people know you're a realtor. You maybe do 4, 6, 8 deals a year, and you don't work any systems and you don't work any sources of business consistently. You just kind of bump into an acorn once in a while, like a blind squirrel. Like blind squirrels just walking around. Oh, I found one. Okay, I got something to eat for this month. Well, complacent realtors might be retirees who dabble in the real estate business, or a housewife that doesn't really need to make that much money. And a lot of realtors that I meet across the country are kind of wandering generalities, right? They're not really committed to any sources of business. They're not committed to any systems. They're not doing any prospecting or marketing to speak of, but they bump into a deal here and there, and that keeps them in their little private stash of money available to them outside of their marriage. I hate to say it, but that's kind of why they work. I do like 4 deals a year. I can make an extra 40 grand, right? That's a wandering generality, a complacent, what I would call a apathetic realtor. They're not that good at addendums. They're not that good at writing up a contingency. They don't really know that much about what the contract even says, really. They just know that it's a general contract that most people have to sign, but they don't really know what all the paragraphs mean. They don't really know how to price residential real estate or how to do an appraisal. They're not really skilled at real estate appraisal. So they make all of us look like shit because they're a wandering generality and they're not really a compassionate, learned expert. They make the profession look bad. So the bottom 3 categories of realtors represent about 65% of all the realtors in the country. Believe it or not, almost 2/3 of all the realtors in the country are either secret agents, wandering generalities, or dependent realtors. And I would say that one of the categories of realtors that I really admire, and I think Lisa really represents this now because I got to meet her today and I got to understand that she has a good referral base and she has a good, healthy, nurturing, professional mindset, but she's not working any systems of business productively over time. So what an emerging realtor does is takes 4 or 5 systems and employs them towards their first 16 transactions a year. So an emerging realtor goes from 6 to 16 deals a year. And the benchmark for 16 may sound too low for some of you inexperienced realtors that think you should automatically be selling 30 or 40 houses a year. But I will tell you this, as a network manager of realtors for the past 30 years, it's really hard to get a realtor to go from 0 to 16 deals a year. That's the hardest there is. But to get them to go from 16 to 20 is pretty easy. To get them to go from 20 to 25 is pretty easy because you just have to add one more source of business. But when you're dealing with realtors that don't have any sources of business and they're not working any systems, it's very difficult to get them from 0 to 6 deals a year, much less 16. So we use 4x4 work bursts as the catalyst for 16 transactions a year. If you are hungry as a realtor, the best thing you can do is get involved with our 4x4 program to set up 4 sources of business that you can work once a week towards 16 transactions a year. There's a group of realtors I can't help. They're called Silver Spoon Realtors. They have affluent, loyal networks of people who trust them. They're socially, politically, and emotionally connected, plugged into the social pipeline. They're going to bump into a couple $1 million in sales every year just because they're connected to those affluent circles. And then there's the established realtors. Only about 5%, 4 or 5% of realtors in the entire country qualify as established realtors. But as you're looking through this list and you're trying to figure out where you fit into the real estate industry, how do you identify as a realtor? I would aspire for you to slide into that emerging realtor community. if you could become a 4x4 worksburst realtor, if you could start working 4 or 5 sources of business that could produce results that are probable and likely, that you're proactively working 4 or 5 sources of business over time, you're going to start to see the results of that. I'm just going to show you how that works in the real world. We basically set up time blocks for Lisa that she sets aside a couple of hours a few times a week for each source of business. So let me show you what that looks like in real life. On Monday morning from 5 to 7, or Monday evening from 5 to 7 p.m., I know I'm free every Monday, so I get to do this. On Tuesdays from 7 to 9 a.m., I do this. Thursdays from 9 to 11, I do this. And Saturdays, noon to 4, I always sit in an open house. So you're the boss. You get to decide which source of business you're going to plug into each of those 4 orange stars on the right. And it's our job at Works Partner, it's our job at the Hero Benefits Network to teach, train, and coach you within each of these sectors. So if you're going to work a lot of for sale by owners, then that would fit into a time block. If you're going to work a lot of recruiting because you think you're going to make it rich with EXP or LPT or Real or Keller or Exit Realty Residuals, then you got to block off some time to work inside of that recruiting formula if that's one of your sources of business. What about absentee owner system? This is something where you could build listings in your inventory by just doing the same thing over and over, just doing the same repetitious involvement with your absentee owner formula. So each of these has a class that goes with it. We do a class called List to Last. We do a free class on the Miracle Letter and how the absentee owner program works and how you can start to convert absentee owners to sellers. We do a whole campaign on the expired listing marketplace. If you don't know how to do expireds, we could teach you the scripts, the agenda, we could teach you the storyboard, we could teach you the marketing campaigns, and all the strategies that are used nationally with the expired listing programs that we manage. We also teach you farming. If you're not a consummate expert geographic farming agent, we could teach you how to do that. Carrie put together a 6-week coaching program called Farming Fridays for targeted geographic farming. Maybe you've never had any formal training on staging. You're not a staging expert. You don't have a staging designation. You looked into it, but it cost $3,000 and you didn't want to go through that $3,000 course. Well, we have a free course. It's called the Real Estate Staging Expert Designation, and we can teach, train, and coach you the nuance of staging analysis so that you can show up as a guru and say, have you ever considered staging your home before you sell it? Remax, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, we provide a $600 value staging analysis free from any charge. We gift it to our sellers, and we find that it increases the asking price by 6 to 13%. If I can work with you on staging this house, we'd be able to sell it for a much higher price. I promise you that. So we want to educate you, a realtor, to become a staging expert. We also have the pet-friendly real estate agent. We have asset managers that are ready, willing, and able to take applications from you so that you can become an REO listing agent, an REO bank-owned listing agent. Yes, you could become an agent that gets listings from the banks. You just have to make those applications. And if you're female or a minority, or if you speak Spanish, you've got an advantage over us gringos. So you've got an opportunity to go after those REO foreclosure opportunities. And then I can't stress enough, I already touched on it earlier today. I think if I could just wave a magic wand over the residential real estate industry, it would be to teach them objection handling techniques. They just suck at it. How much is your, pick up the phone and call a realtor, any realtor in the country, and just say, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. And then they go, oh, great. They start to go into spazzy mode. And then you go, how much is your commission? And they sound like a kid kicking a can down the road. They're like, well, And then they say, well, my brokerage says 6%, but I could charge 5 if you want. I could probably do a little less. It's just so immature, so unprofessional. The entire industry as a whole, especially those wandering, complacent generality realtors or those secret agents, they don't really know anything about objection handling techniques. So teaching objection handling techniques to realtors is one of the pride and privileges I get in the residential real estate industry. I really have found that teaching objection handling techniques is really, really rewarding. So if you're a real estate agent online today and you're thinking about getting involved with the 4x4 program to add 16 deals, one of the deals you're going to add is essential worker relocation. We're going to really get firm with you on how to go after the sheriff's office or the teachers union or the firefighters, and how you can send handwritten notes to the leaders to get appointments with them, and how we'll go ahead and do the presentations for you. In closing, I'm just going to read this handwritten note because it is not complicated. Send out 20 of these things a week and you'll probably do an extra 6 to 16 deals just on this. Help with housing is available to your sworn officers and civilian employees. These funds never have to be repaid. We gift law enforcement officers and other essential employees up to $10,000 to help them with down payment, relocation, and or closing costs. We offer a free online registration at herobenefitsnetwork.org, and because I am the local benefits director, we could distribute vouchers and information at the station. Together, we can address the homeownership affordability crisis for your loan officers, for your law enforcement officers. Thank you very much. We do that with nurses, we do that with teachers, we do that with firefighters. If you have never worked with Works Partner, it's a completely free program for realtors. All those classes that I just mentioned are free. We typically look for a mortgage sponsor to pick up the freight on it. But if you're a realtor, you do not need a mortgage banker to get an access to the Works Partnership account. You can go through Works Partner directly and take those classes as part of the Hero Benefits Network relationship. But eventually, we're going to get a mortgage partner that you're partnered up with, and we're going to really build a three-legged stool there in your local market. So that is 10:53. Outwore my welcome again as usual. But the Key to Coaching program is near and dear to my heart. We meet every Wednesday with a group of realtors to help them grow their production. And that's the only reason we're getting together. Thanks for being on.